And then we get back to why the fuck did I do this? It makes no sense. It's boring as fuck. It's very bland. It's flat in a way that makes you think, what the fuck? Hi, welcome back. You know what time it is. It is the end of April. Actually, today is May 3rd. I was about to say March. It's May 3rd. This is going to be my April wrap-up. In April, I think I had a good reading month. I had a few duds, and the duds were really, really low. And then I had a few hits. This April, I tried to do an experiment. I had realized that I still hadn't given any book from the beginning of the year up until now 5 stars. And I have read almost 50 books up until now. So it was unprecedented. That has never happened to me. I usually read very, very good books in the beginning of the year and then it kind of slows down. But this year, I hope the opposite, because it means that my reading year is going to go up. I have my reading journal, my Hiii, and we're going to use this instead of a computer because I think it's so much more special. And I have a pile of books right here to talk about. I started April finishing a very good Danmei series. If you don't know, Danmei means Chinese web novel that eventually gets turned into physical book. It's a primarily boys' love story, so there's a love story between two men. This in particular was a historical danmei set in the ancient China, very mythological. It talks about deities. It was Nanchan. I read volume 2, 3, and 4, so the last one. I finished the series. It was very good. It was very good. It really, really reminded me of Heaven's Official Blessing. Like the beats of the story were very similar, but in like different tones. The atmosphere was very different. We followed 2 protagonists. One of them is a fallen deity. He committed patricide, so he killed his father, who was supposed to be this god of the gods, kind of like Zeus, but in ancient China. And then he got banished into this limbo between our mortal world, where we human beings live, and the deities world, so the heavens. And he spends his days there. He has no spiritual energy, he has no soul. And he just does nothing because he has no energy for anything. He also has fractured memories, so he doesn't actually remember a lot of what happened after he committed patricide. And he spends his days in the company of a carp. That it's actually a carp spirit, that it's actually a person. So he is actually a demon, and he slowly turns from a carp into a kid, and then from a kid into an adult. And they have a past history, so they haven't had an entanglement in the past, but they don't know why, when, who they were in the past. And it's also a quest to recover all those memories and understand why he committed patricide, the fallen deity. Very good. I don't know, I read the fan translation for the last 2 volumes, and I think that affected my rating. I gave all of the volumes 4 stars. I think it could be more if I read the official translation. I read the official one for the first and second volume, and it flows much better. It's not that the fan translation, like, it was bad. It was not machine translated. It was translated by a person. It just lacks the sophistication that an official one does. So I think when they translate it, I'm going to reread all of the books, and I think I'm going to like it a lot more. It was still very good. There are a lot of trigger warnings if you want to read this series, because it gets very, very dark at some points. But I think the whole of the story was very grand. The quest was very intriguing. There were a lot of mysteries, and that's why it reminded me of Heaven's Official Blessing, because it also has kind of like quests and mysteries to recover some memories from the past. And then I went into a book hangover. I didn't want to read anything else because Nanchan left me with such a good spirit, and I was like, nothing is going to compare. It gave me a lot of heavy emotions, and so I was like, let's go back to my roots. My roots are comics. So I read Punch Drunk Love. This is a manhwa. This is a Korean comic. This was so fun. This was just silly and goofy. These two people work together in a company. One of them is really serious. He is very, very handsome. He's considered like the prince of the company. He is very good at his job. And the other one, a silly, goofy guy. He dresses so weirdly. He's very introverted, but in a way that he thinks so highly of himself. I think he's very autistic coded. It never gets expressed in the text, but I think he gets across as autistic because of the way that he behaves, and they stumble into an agreement of being together physically, and then it gets very, very, very romantic. They were so stupid. They were so fucking stupid, but not in a way that it annoys you, in just a very fun way, in a way that makes you think, what the fuck? Like, the outfits were a character of their own. Please look at this. These are all the outfits that I texted my friends because they were so silly. I give it 4.25. And then I read another manhwa, so another Korean comic, and I was thinking, this is the same author of another comic that I read last month that was very good. This one, however, incredible. I found myself crying, but like literally crying, snot coming out of my nose because it was so engaging and beautiful and deep. I read Taming the Tiger. Taming the Tiger is famously known in the online spaces for being very good. They are right. It's by brothers without tomorrow. We are in ancient Korea, and one of the noblemen that is known for being very, very cold-hearted, and it's also used as the hound dog of the emperor, finds this man in a village that he is visiting for plot reasons, and this man has no family. He is huge. He has incredible muscles. He's very, very strong. Comes to work for this nobleman, and they start a very intriguing relationship that is built on mutual mistrust, that's the word in English. It gets physical, and then it gets romantic, and then it gets deep love. You know, when two people are completely devoted to each other, like body, soul, religiously, romantically, everything, even further than love, and they would sacrifice anything to be with each other, even in ancient Korea. Very good. Even the secondary characters were so fleshed out. This got 5 stars. I'm still not counting it as a 5-star for my books because it's easier, at least for me, if the art is good, to give 5 stars to comics, but still. 5 stars. It was incredible. The epilogue stories. So there are some bonus stories after the epilogue. Did we need them? Actually, yes, we did. If you loved the ending, prepare yourself to stab yourself in the chest once more. And then we enter the category of why did I do that? I read King of Envy by Ana Huang. Have I ever read a Ana Huang book that I liked? No. No, I didn't. No, I did not. Why did I do that? Because I had the credit for the audiobook. That's the only reason. I am just as surprised as you. Why did I do that? It was bad. It was incredibly bad. And this is also the 5th book in the Kings of Sin series. It's supposed to be like representing of the sin of the title. So the main male lead is the envious one because the main female protagonist is getting married, like an arranged marriage, but nobody knows it, that it's arranged, to his best friend, the male main lead best friend. Vuk, who is the male lead, he is selectively mute, so he never speaks. He speaks in ASL, and he is so incredibly obsessed with the female protagonist for no reason, because when he tells you the reason that he's so obsessive, it makes no sense. It's boring as fuck. It's very bland. It's flat. He works with cybersecurity but has a dark past with some gangsters that come into play, and it was the silliest time of my life. It was way too goofy for how serious these two people talked. Also, the sex scenes were abhorrent, were terrible. I didn't even laugh because it was not that kind of funny. It was just so cringy. It was awful. I gave it 2.5 stars. I don't think I'm a Hannah Huang girly because the writing was very bland. I did finish it, but only because the audiobook narrators were very good. Their voices were very, very good, very clear. I loved their intonation, loved them. And then I read another kind of comic. This is a mixed media experience because it's both a novel and a manual and a graphic novel of some sort. I read Vermis Volume 1. This is a very, very cool graphic project. It's a manual for a video game that never existed. So it's a dark fantasy, retro dark fantasy video game that gets explained into the book like it's a manual to complete the video game, but also a novel. And you are a knight that has to enter this very retro dark fantasy world. And it's infested by spirits and old deities and cool entities. And it's beautifully illustrated. It gets so eerie and creepy, and all the variations of the enemies that you can encounter, it's so creative. I really loved it. And also, the story is also compelling because I want to know what happened to us the night. What happened to us? There's a second and third volume, I think. I'm going to buy them stat. I gave Vermis Volume 1, I think 5 stars. It was incredible. It also left me with a feeling of like, I want to play this game. I want to live this experience. And it's such a shame that it doesn't exist. And so I was like, I'm craving some retro vintage fantasy book. I read the first, it's a short book, but the first book in the Eric of Melniboné saga, the Elray saga. This is a book from the 60s. The Italian translation is it's from the 70s. It's a classical fantasy story. And it's so creative though. The protagonist is Eric. He is the emperor of this island whose people are very, very close and bonded with dragons. And they have been reigning the world for 1,000 years, no, 10,000 years. And they have been on the decline for the past 500. And everybody says that it's the fault of the emperor because Eric is born very weak. He has colorless hair and red eyes. And he has a very weak constitution. And he has to take drugs in the morning just to function and to walk and talk. But he is also one of the best magicians of his time. He's very, very powerful. So everybody they're afraid of him, but also they despise him. And his cousin wants to take the throne. And the book starts with the attempt to take the throne. And Eric has to, again, go on a quest to find his cousin that has wreaked havoc on this island and has also stolen the love of his life, who's also his cousin for some reason. But we don't talk about that part. And he talks to spirits and to gods and has to go to the underworld. And it's very, very reminiscent of the type of things that I had just read into Vermis. Like the atmosphere, so eerie, so creepy, so dark. Loved it a lot. For a book that was like 200 pages, it packed a punch. I gave it 4.5 stars. The writing was also very old school, so you're very kind of like removed from the story, is an omniscient third person narrator, but you're very much into the mind of this Eric that has such powerful magical powers. He is very studious, so he interrogates himself about the nature of his powers and the moral dilemma of using them. Very cool. And then we get back to why the fuck did I do this? I read On Wings of Blood. This is the first book in another series called Bloodwing Academy. I know why I did this. I was creating a book with a magical academy in it, and this one I had a credit for the audiobook. And at the beginning, it was very intriguing. The main female character gets isekai, so she gets transported from her fae world, she's a fae, into a world of vampires. And she crash lands into this vampire world, and she gets found by this vampire prince. And it was very cool at the beginning because it was like, oh, new world, she doesn't know anything. And she gets brought into this academy because she gets betrothed to this vampire prince. Because in this vampire world, they don't recognize her as a fae, but as a dragon rider, which is a race for some reason called dragon riders. but there are no more dragons in this world. So I was like, oh, very cool. But the writing is ass. It's fucking ass. The author decided that she was not going to use any descriptions in her books that are not the clothes and people. So you never know where you are, where the people are moving, how they are moving, how we get to one place, from one place to another. At one point, she descends a flight of stairs. She gets to a place that I cannot describe it to you because the author described it as nothing she had ever seen. How am I supposed to know what she has seen in her life? Also, because she was from the Fae nobility, she never asks any fucking question. You get transported into a new world and you never ask any fucking question. This was mind-boggling. She was incredibly stupid in all of her decisions. She makes all the wrong turns in the story, even the most obvious ones. Why? The relationship between her and the male lead was, I think, the best part of the story because they fucking hate each other. Not for any good reasons, but they fucking hate each other. And then they have this lusty pull, but the main character, the female main character, acknowledges that it's not love, it's just lust, which I think was refreshing because it's honest. But also the sex scenes were awful, especially the one at the end, but it was from the point of view of the male lead. You can guess how he was looking at her and doing things to her. And at one point he goes, ride me like you'd ride a dragon. And at that point I was like, ma'am, what are we doing? Also, the Magical Academy part is fucking awful because it was just used as a device to not do any of the world building. It should be an academy, so it should be a university, but it's more like high school. There was one chapter in which I read the same scene twice. She goes to class, she embarrasses herself, and the teacher goes like, oh, you don't know this? How stupid are you? Let me tell you, 5 pages of info dumps. And it gets repeated again and again. It was just poorly planned from the beginning. I gave it, how much did I give it? I think I gave it 2 stars, but I think more of a 1.5 because the ending, while cool, I was just so checked out of the story. It's a very long book too. And then I read my last book of the month, but it's the most exciting and it's the only one that I have on physical form because it's worth it. I read Dungeon Crawler Carl's Volume 2 Doomsday Scenario. Carl's Doomsday Scenario, oh, I'm so in love with this series. This is a lit RPG, so it moves like a RPG video game. So you go into dungeons. The story is that aliens come to Earth and they're like, well, goodbye Earth, and they raise Earth to the ground, so no more buildings. If you want to survive as a person, you have to go under the crust of the Earth where they built dungeons, and there are, I think, 18 levels. And our protagonist Carl, when all of this happens, he's outside in his underwear with his ex-girlfriend's cat on his lap, and he's like, well, me and the cat, Princess Donut, shall go into the dungeons. Everybody's watching, everybody from the galaxy is watching, so there's also like a televised program aspect of this, kind of like the Hunger Games. It's just so fun. Not all of the humor lands with me, but this especially I liked a lot more than the first one, because the first one was a lot of world building that I already knew because I love video games. But this one just you get thrown into the story once again, and it's so fucking funny. Let me tell you, there's this UI, which is the interface that every player has. So you get information for the level, the games, the mobsters into this kind of screen. It has an AI that loves feet, especially Carl's feet for some reasons. So it keeps getting him prizes that are to do with feet grooming. I think that's so fucking funny. And I cannot wait to get the 3rd volume into my hands. I think it's getting translated this month. I'm so excited. I gave this 4.5 stars. This was an eventful month. But you could see that my quest for a 5-star book continues. It's going to be a vlog because I think I'm very, very close to finding one. You'll see. But it's going to be the next video after this one, I think. So, We finished this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you tune in next month or the next video. I also have some socials. They're down below. Fun time there, especially on TikTok. I do all my Q&A, questions, stuff like that down there. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye! Mwah.